everybody, and welcome back to another Pokemon Challenge video. Last time, I asked the question, could I beat Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon only using a single Delmise in battle? And that video was the most difficult challenge video I have ever done. I'm not gonna spoil it, but if you're really interested in checking that out, don't forget to watch it after you're done watching this video. Today, we're covering the first Pokemon challenge I ever recorded for YouTube. What do I mean by that? You've been uploading them for a little while now. Yes, I have, but I tried to do this exact same thing, this time last year. Back in January 2019, I set a goal for myself to upload a challenge video every single week. But my plans changed, unfortunately, and the one I recorded, I never actually got around to editing, and I wouldn't upload one to this channel until September with the payday video. And funnily enough, I set that same goal for myself this year, and right now, if you count this one, I'm on a streak of 4 weeks in a row. So I think it's finally time to introduce you guys to the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky Pacifist Run. I've always been a massive fan of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, and back in January of 2019 when I recorded this challenge run, nobody had done a challenge on these games. So I wanted to be the first, and it got me thinking, could you beat Pokemon Explorers of Sky, Time, or Darkness without ever fighting? You see, in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, you run a rescue team with yourself and your partner Pokemon. So if this were possible, it would be entirely on my partner to win the game. Before we get started here, I do want to go ahead and mention, while I did record this back in January of 2019, another Pokemon YouTuber that makes challenge videos did do something very similar to this later that year in August, 8 months later. This is entirely my fault because I was just too lazy to edit the thing. A Pokemon YouTuber that goes by the name of ER Alpha did a challenge very similar to this. However, he did it with a Phanpy and a Riolu, which are two different Pokemon than I used, and he allowed the use of items that can damage enemies and items that can inflict status upon enemies, while I went with the fully 100% pacifist route. So this will still be a different experience than his video. However, I highly encourage you to go ahead and check out his channel and his video down below in the description after you're done with this video so you can see the comparison between the two runs. If you guys find yourselves enjoying this video at any point, it would really mean the world to me if you click the little thumbs up down below, turning it from gray to blue, and maybe even subscribing to the channel as well if you are new. With all that out of the way, let's jump into this run and see if I can beat the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky Pacifist Run. Alright, Mystery Dungeon is a really interesting game if you've never played it before. You answer questions to determine which Pokemon you're going to play through the game as. In Explorers of Sky, I could play as any of the starter Pokemon from Bulbasaur to Piplup, or Pikachu, Vulpix, Eevee, Phanpy, Skitty, Shinx, or Riolu. While it might not seem like who I choose matters, you know, since I'm not going to be fighting at all, it actually is a pretty important choice. If you or your partner get knocked out at any point, you lose and have to start the dungeon you're in again. Meaning, I would want to answer the questions to be the best Pokemon to take hits with, and my partner Pokemon cannot be the same type as the player character, meaning I would have to be something that doesn't clash with the partner that I want to choose. So with that being considered, let's look into what partner Pokemon I'd want to pick. That way it's easier to decide our player character. The options for partner Pokemon are the same as the player character, except you could also pick either Meowth or Munchlax. The immediately obvious choice for me for the best partner Pokemon was Skitty. Skitty gets the move Sing really early on, which can be used to put difficult bosses to sleep. By doing this, it will make them much easier to manage with only one Pokemon. And Skitty also gets the move Double Slap. While that move is really bad in regular games, in Mystery Dungeon, moves and Pokemon work a lot differently. Double Slap is pretty strong and hits multiple times. For a rule of thumb, any move that hits multiple times is pretty devastating in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. So without hesitation, I knew I wanted to have Skitty as my partner Pokemon. In hindsight, this was actually a huge mistake, and you'll see why in a little bit. So back to who I want to play as. I should actually mention, while I was making the rules for this challenge over a year ago, I figured it would be impossible to beat the game by doing nothing at all. So I was initially going to allow the use of moves that don't affect the enemy, but could help me stay alive. This impacted my choice of player character greatly, and was also a massive mistake since I decided to go the full no attacking, no fighting, no moves at all route. Because of this initial mindset, I chose Squirtle. Squirtle gets withdraw at level 10, which could have raised our defense, making us take hits a little better, and even gets protect at level 22, which could make us invincible for a short time. However, like I said, I ended up not using any moves at all, rendering these things completely useless, and picking a water type was a grave mistake, as we'll soon see later. Anyways, before we get started, let's quickly go over the rules I'll be using for this pacifist run. First of all, we're going to be playing as a pacifist. This is a person, or in this case, a Pokemon, who does not fight. This means I, the player character, am not allowed to affect an enemy in any shape or form. I cannot inflict status, deal damage, or use items that affect the enemy. I am allowed to use items as the player character, however, if it doesn't affect an enemy. I can heal my partner, or myself, restore their power points, use seeds on them, or even use orbs, if that orb doesn't affect an enemy. For example, a Spurn orb is a popular strategy to take care of monster houses. It teleports every enemy in the room to another location. That orb's not allowed, as teleporting the enemy is affecting them. However, an escape orb to leave a dungeon is allowed, since it only affects my team. My player character is not allowed to use any moves whatsoever. I'm not allowed to recruit other members to our team to fight. The only Pokemon allowed to fight is my partner. Pokemon that join the team temporarily for story reasons, however, are allowed, such as Bidoof for Grovyle. And lastly, this challenge ends when we defeat Primal Dialga. If we manage to do that, maybe I'll try the post-game and special missions in the future. If you'd be interested in that, let me know down below in the comments section. With all of that covered, let's jump into this challenge and see if I can beat the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky Pacifist Run. I awake on the beach as a Squirtle and get greeted by a mean little kitty who I named Sparta. I tell her my name is Sheldon, and ironically, I'm the scaredy cat in this duo. A Zubat and Coughing take her personal treasure, so I agree to lead her through the beach cave, but I'm not gonna be much help. We chase them down, and in the end, she didn't actually need me. She defeats both Coughing and Zubat with Zen Headbutt. She for some reason believes she couldn't have done this without me, but I didn't do anything. Maybe she's desperate. Remember how I said Skitty was a huge mistake? Well, she has an awesome move pool. For example, she already has Zen Headbutt. Awesome, right? Super effective against both Zubat and Coughing. Except that it's not. You see, in Mystery Dungeon, if a Pokemon can have two abilities, it will have them both. Skitty can have two abilities, Cute Charm and Normalize. Sparta is the only way I can deal damage the entire game, and she can only use normal type attacks. Do you see the big mistake that I made? But this adventure has become a lot harder than it should have been. For some reason, after our horrible performance of doing nothing at all, Sparta wants to make a rescue team with us. So we join forces and create Team MKDW. Team Mean Kitty and Deadweight. Hey, she now knows what she's gotten herself into, and did it anyways. Sorry, Sparta. We go on our first rescue mission to the Drenched Bluff and retrieve a Spoink's lost pearl. If anything, at least I know how to navigate these dungeons. Maybe that's all Sparta wanted, was a leader. We meet a young Meryl and Azurill, and then have a creepy vision of Azurill being cornered by a mean-looking Drowsy. We head to the Mount Bristle to stop Drowsy, but that's a job for Sparta. I hide behind her as she attracts Drowsy and takes him out with Tackle and Zen Headbutt. After completing some rescue missions and participating in sentry duty for the first time, it's time for our first official exploration. We get sent to investigate a waterfall. So what do? We jump in it like any sane Pokemon and discover a cave. At the end of it, we push a giant gemstone and get flung all the way to a distant hot spring. We formally meet Team Skull, the first one, and continue doing rescue jobs and sentry duty until Chatot tasks us to replenish the larder. We basically need to go get food to feed the Wigglytuff. At the end of the Apple Woods, the aforementioned Team Skull comes out of nowhere, taking all the apples, causing us to fail our mission. Because of this, we believe we wouldn't be picked for an upcoming expedition. But to our surprise, everybody's going. including Team Skull. So we prepare and train at the dojo for a little bit, but we lose every single time. For some reason, I was just unable to beat any of the dojo floors, but we still get some decent experience in the process. Our rescue team gets paired up with Bidoof to make our way to the rendezvous point. Up to this point, we've had no issues at all. This challenge has been incredibly easy so far, not all that different from a regular playthrough, until Bidoof joined us. We make our way through the craggy coast just fine, but Mount Horn was a much different story. Bidoof attacking with us is worse than me doing nothing at all. Not counting the dojo, this is the first time we fail a dungeon. If Bidoof gets knocked out, we have to restart, and there's no way around it. He uses defense curl and growl repeatedly, and there's no way to stop him. He's a madman. After 30 minutes or so and 2 losses really deep into Mount Horn, we manage to reach the rendezvous point and get rid of Bidoof once and for all. With Bidoof gone, we make our way through Foggy Forest with ease and reach the first major dungeon of the game, Steam Cave. Our first failure on our own comes from me getting a bit too impatient. I get separated from Sparta and get sandwiched between 2 Slugma. Since I can't do anything to them, and Sparta was so far away, I had to use an escape orb to get out. Next, we immediately run into a Nummel who uses magnitude 10 and just one-shot Sparta. But we eventually manage to reach the halfway point, and I spot a Water Pulse TM being picked up by an enemy. I hunt this down, taking it from a Magmar. This won't be Water Pulse, but instead a normal pulse by teaching it to Sparta. This move travels several tiles, letting Sparta hit things from afar. It's time to fight the next boss, Groudon. I figured this fight would be insanely difficult, but it's time to be brave. I start by stepping back and behind Sparta while she uses Sing. I step in front to soak up some of the damage, and Double Slap does a good amount of damage while it's asleep, and Sparta puts it back under. Continuing to use Double Slap, we're running low on PP for it, and I'm out of Oran Berries and Max Elixir. Slash strikes Sheldon as I step out of the way after, and Groudon goes back to sleep, finishing Groudon off with one final Double Slap. We then meet a famous explorer named Dusknor who comes to visit the guild, and have a conversation with him at the Kecleon Market, with the familiar Azurill and Meryl duo joining us. They lost their precious water float, and after a couple of rescue missions, it's time to go get it for them. It's been located in the Amp Plains. This area is full of electric-type Pokemon, and this was the area I was dreading the most, as I'm doing this challenge as a Squirtle. Regardless, we make our preparations and make our way to the Amp Plains. We surprisingly make our way to the peak on the first attempt, keeping all of our Reviver Seeds that I brought intact. I'm in a really good position right now. This could potentially be a massive roadblock. The boss of Amp Plains is an electric type, or should I say, 9 electric types. It's Manectric and 8 Electrike. Sparta now knows the move Protect. This is going to be crucial. I just need to get Sheldon out of the way and hope for the best. Sparta uses Water Pulse on an Electrike since she was in the line of sight as I move down to the southwest. I need to keep Sheldon out of range at all costs, as they could knock him out insanely quickly. I move to my original position as Sparta puts an Electrike to sleep. Sparta targets an Electrike with Double Slap and misses every single one of them as I move back to the southwest. I give Sparta an Oran Berry as she misses Sing on Manectric, but Cute Charm infatuates an Electrike. Sparta puts another Electrike asleep, and Sheldon runs to the bottom left corner. Sparta protects herself and begins to go on a Double Slap spree, taking out 2 more Electrike. She then targets the leader in Manectric, hitting it 3 times with Double Slap, and gets knocked out, but then revives with a Reviver Seed. She protects herself, and I use another Oran Berry on her. Luckily, right now they're all targeting her, as she takes out another Electrike, and then the leader Manectric. Only 4 Electrike remain. This is actually happening. Another Electrike goes down, and the remaining 3 go down to the wrath of the Mean Kitty. We did it on our first try, with only 1 Reviver Seed. Mean little kitty wants to fight, fight, fight! Meanwhile, the Time Gears continue to be stolen at a rapid rate. The culprit is a Pokemon named Grovyle. The guild decides to do a region-wide manhunt, or Pokemon hunt, and our team is sent to the northern desert. After some really close calls and PowerPoint issues, we thankfully managed to make it to the end of the desert, only to be stopped by a bunch of quicksand holes. After sleeping on it, we return to the quicksand holes and discover a cave by jumping inside, because, that's a smart call. Here was our first major struggle. The quicksand caves were fine, but the quicksand pit, after the halfway mark, was not kind to me. Every floor has a random chance of summoning a sandstorm. During this time, you don't regain any hit points, and the longer it takes you to find the exit, the more dangerous your status becomes. We failed the quicksand pit multiple multiple times. To be fair, it's my fault. I didn't come prepared, meaning we had to overcome this without any healing items. Due to that and a combination of pretty poor luck and bad spawns, we ended up losing 9 straight times over the course of an hour, before eventually reaching the time gear, and our next boss fight, Mesprit. I was not about to lose this fight, because if we did, we would have to overcome the quicksand pit again, and who knows how long that would take. I start by backing up and hiding behind Sparta. She protects herself and puts Mesprit to sleep. Thankfully, Sparta is able to comfortably keep herself protected and keep Mesprit asleep to deal enough damage and take her out with double slap. However, unfortunately, after knocking out the Guardian in Mesprit, Grovyle shows up and takes the time gear anyways. This time, I actually prepare for the next dungeon, with that dungeon being the Crystal Cave. No major hangups here, allowing us to reach the deep part of Crystal Cave with ease, and look who's already here. It's Grovyle. Time to fight! Once again, I start by hiding behind Sparta as she uses Water Pulse from a distance, protecting herself from a Leaf Blade and putting Grovyle to sleep. Double Slap misses the first time, but begins to stack up consistent damage. Cute Charm manages to activate, and Sparta takes him down with a couple more good smacks. After a few more missions, Grovyle thankfully gets captured, and Dusknoir is gathered in the town square to take him back to the future. We all show up to say goodbye to the great Dusknoir, but he grabs Sparta and Sheldon and drags us to the future! Dusknoir was the bad guy? No way, I already knew that. We managed to escape Dusknoir's grasp with Grovyle, but Sparta doesn't quite trust that Grovyle's the good guy yet, so he goes on ahead without us, and we continue on our own. We carefully make our way through the Chasm Cave, which is full of Pokemon that resist normal moves, like Onix and Magneton, but then we reach an even worse area, Dark Hill. Dark Hill's full of ghost types. Ghost types in Mystery Dungeon can go over walls, which if I'm positioned poorly, can trap me, meaning I need to stick by Sparta closely. We make it through Dark Hill just fine, however, and enter the Sealed Ruin. This area is kind of similar to Chasm Cave as it's full of Pokemon that resist normal type attacks. On the 4th floor, however, we have a run-in with a monster house. A monster house spawns a mass amount of enemies at once and is usually a death sentence for this run. But I have a Pure Seed, and a Pure Seed will warp me to the staircase when I eat it, and I was able to escape the monster house this time. We managed to reach the end of the ruins and find Grovyle immobilized on the ground. He's been consumed by Spiritomb, the little rock we were standing next to. 1 versus 108! And it is usually immune to Sparta's normalized moves. But in this game, it's just massively decreased. I hide behind Sparta as usual and put Spiritomb to bed. Tackle only is doing about 30 damage, but if we can keep it asleep, we should be fine. It manages to use Ominous Wind, which misses Sheldon and isn't very good against Sparta either. 2 can play at that immunity game, but it gets the Omni boost from Ominous Wind, and Sparta's almost dead. We heal Sparta up and have her use Sing. The reliable Cute Charm strikes, but it snaps out and gets another Omni boost from Ominous Wind. But it spares us and goes for Nasty Plot. It's in the position to end us and quick. I give Sparta one more Oran Berry, fail to put it to sleep, and in return it puts Sparta to sleep. I don't have any items to heal status with us. Sparta needs to wake up and fast. Out of nowhere, I decide to move to the left and evade a Shadow Sneak that was coming my way. I hadn't seen it use that yet. Sparta then wakes up, putting it back to sleep as its speed returns to normal, and Double Slap hits twice, finishing it off. Wow, that could have gone so much worse. We got really lucky. We decide to trust Grovyle so we can return home to our own time and head through the Dusk Forest. Grovyle joins us for this, and while he's strong, he does what he wants to do. But luckily we reach his friend Celebi, who also tags along, as we continue through the deep parts of the Dusk Forest. We discover that we, Sheldon, are Grovyle's old partner before we became a Pokemon. Now we know Grovyle's telling the truth. Cornered by Dusknoir, we quickly make our escape back to our present time. As to not shock any of our friends at the guild right away, we stay in Sparta's old place at the Sharpedo Bluff, and join Grovyle in his quest to steal the Time Gears. You know, to save the world. We head over to the Tree Shroud Forest and run into another monster house on the 8th floor. I eat a Warp Seed, hoping to be placed by the staircase. I wasn't. However, Sparta gets confused and badly hurt, so I give her a Warp Seed as well to send her to safety. And the Warp Seed actually brings her to the staircase room, showing me where to go. But that doesn't stop another one from ambushing us on the 14th floor. And this time, I don't have any items to get us out of it. But it's a much smaller ambush than last time. Sparta protects herself and manages to defeat the entire monster house. But this time, we wouldn't be so lucky. A third monster house on the same attempt! The game did not want us to make it through this forest so easily. Knowing that we're done for, I use an escape orb as I know it's better than losing. The second attempt went much more smoothly, reaching the end without a single monster house and nabbing the next time gear. We decide to come face to face with our guild and let them in on everything we know. We need this hunt to be a group effort, as we cannot do this alone. With the end game approaching, I do some item farming and the dojo training, before making our way to the hot springs to see the town elder Torkel, to see what he knows about the hidden land. Chatot and Wigglytuff know what the elder's talking about, and it involves Sparta's precious artifact that was taken by Team Skull at the beginning of our adventure. It's found at the end of the Brine Cave. Chatot joins our party for this as he has a history with this place, and we easily make our way to the halfway point. However, once again, Team Skull steals our relic fragment and heads to the end of the dungeon without us, and Chatot gives chase, alone. At the end of the dungeon, we find a battered Team Skull and get our relic fragment back from them. Chatot went on ahead face to face with the enemies that hurt him long ago, Kabutops and the Omastar brothers. He was hurt then saving Wigglytuff, and he was hurt again protecting us. So it's time to make these fossils go extinct. I step back and put Sparta in the line of fire. Her new move Assist pulls a random move from all of the Pokemon on the floor. This includes Sheldon and even the boss Pokemon like Kabutops and Omastar. Albeit they're all normal moves because of Normalize. Sparta puts all three of them asleep and begins attacking them randomly. Her reliable feint attack is our best option. It never misses, giving consistent damage. I heal her up and she takes both Omastar out. I step up to take some of the damage and she finishes Kabutops off with feint attack. We then meet up with Lapras and make our way to the hidden land, and then to and through the hidden highlands with ease, thanks to the help of Grovyle. But our final bout with Grovyle was rapidly approaching as we reached the Rainbow Stone Ship. But look who it is. Dusknoir and his Sableye have caught up to us and are prepared to take us back to the future once and for all. It's time for one of the most notorious fights in this game. Dusknoir and his 6 Sableye, all heavily resisting normal moves. Thankfully, we have Grovyle for this, but with only 2 Reviver Seeds, we need to be very careful about how we go about this. I step downward. This has Dusknoir and 2 Sableye go towards Sparta, 2 Sableye on Grovyle, and 2 Sableye on myself, splitting the defense work between the 3 of us. Walking down again puts us in an interesting position, as for some reason Grovyle follows us, and Sparta gets wailed on. Instead of attacking, Grovyle continues to follow me. So I step to the right and Grovyle is put into peril. I take this time to heal Grovyle with an Oran Berry, and Sparta puts Dusknoir to sleep. Grovyle finishes 1 Sableye off, and I heal Sparta, who went down to only 6 hit points. Grovyle then takes out another Sableye, and I feed Sparta a Quick Seed, as she infatuates a Sableye, and Dusknoir's still asleep. Grovyle takes 2 more Sableye out, and Sparta gets rid of 1 more. Only 1 Sableye and Dusknoir remain. Sparta grabs Nightshade with Assist, which hits everything in her vicinity. The issue is, she then becomes confused. Luckily, she continues to target nothing while confused, and I then use a Heal Seed to snap her out. Between her and Grovyle, they manage to take Dusknoir out, and Grovyle, who was in peril, uses his Overgrow to finish the final Sableye off. Grovyle then throws us the Time Gears, and drags Dusknoir into the portal to the future with him, saying goodbye one final time. We then ride the Rainbow Stone Ship to the final dungeon, the Temporal Tower. I came prepared with a storage stocked full of goods. This is our final challenge, and this dungeon is dangerous and loaded with Pokemon that resist normal moves. There are dangerous Porygon who can use Discharge, a powerful electric move that damages everyone in the room. I brought a Pure Seed in case we get put in a bad position with them, so on the final floor, I used one to skip to the staircase when I spawned in a room with 2 of them. And with that, we reached the halfway point. We have reached the Temporal Spire. Those Porygon are now Porygon 2 and Porygon Z, and there are even more powerful Pokemon there like Salamence and Bronzong. I end up spawning in a room with 2 Porygon Z and a Porygon 2. They abuse agility, which raises everybody in the room's speed except us by 2 stages. I go through several items I brought for the final boss on that one room, but thankfully we managed to make it to the top on the first try. This is it! It's time for the final boss versus Primal Dialga. This is one of the most difficult bosses in the entire game, and we can only fight with our partner, and she can only use resisted normal type attacks. Let's do this? I start by using a quick seed on Sparta as she runs to the front. Dialga uses its devastating Roar of Time, dealing nearly 100 damage to Sheldon and over 100 damage to Sparta. But he has to recharge. Sparta approaches Dialga, and I use a citrus berry to heal her up to full. Dialga has the IQ ability some bosses have, called Intimidator, making you flinch randomly when attacking. I give Sparta a Violent Seed, raising her attack by 2 stages. She luckily manages to put it to sleep, and I heal myself with an Oranberry. Assist pulls out Roar of Time, dealing over 100 damage to Dialga. But we have to recharge. We keep flinching, and Sparta goes down the first time, but gets revived by a Reviver Seed. I give her another Violent Seed as she wakes up, and we trade Dragon Claws. I heal Sparta up 2 more times, and she puts Dialga to sleep and protects herself in the process. Dialga uses Roar of Time again, hitting us both for 91 damage, and she hits Dialga with Feint Attack twice while it recharges, which is enough to finish it off. We just beat the entire main story of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky without ever once damaging or affecting anything with our main character. We just beat this Pacifist Run. I am so glad that I finally managed to get this challenge out there. I had a ton of fun doing this back then, and I had a ton of fun editing it together as well, and I'm so glad I finally got to share it with all of you guys. While we only beat the main story, and there's still a lot of game left, I'm still happy with the result, and I'd be cool if this is where Sparta and Sheldon's adventure came to an end. Personally, I think beating Darkrai and the post-game with these two would be impossible. But if you guys want to see me try, definitely like the video and tell me that you want to see me do it down below. If I see enough people telling me they want to see it, maybe I'll do another video in the future for that, and maybe even a third part doing all of the special missions and see if I can beat the Bidoof and Baby Wigglytuff and Team Charm and all of those special missions without fighting as them. But you gotta make your guys' voices heard. If you wanna see either of those things, you gotta tell me down below. Make your voice heard, because if not a lot of people are saying they wanna see it, I'll just assume that this is where this is going to come to an end, and we'll move on to other challenge runs in the future. Anyways, guys, if you found yourself enjoying this video at all, it would really mean the world to me if you clicked the like button down below, left a comment, or maybe even subscribe if you're new. You'll see more videos like this in the future, and right now I'm uploading one of these every single week, Saturday, 10 a.m. EST. Again, these videos take a massive amount of time and effort to make, so seeing that kind of support and likes and comments really motivates me to keep doing what I do. If you'd like to try the Pacifist Challenge in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon on your own, I would love to hear about it over on my Twitter or even on my Discord server. Links on screen and in the description down below. Maybe you can do it with 2 different Pokemon than I use, and I'd love to go ahead and see what kind of results could happen with different Pokemon. If this is your first time watching my Pokemon challenges and you want to see more like it, I've got a playlist of all of them that I've done over here. And I primarily make Pokemon Challenge Let's Plays, like the Wedlock Challenge. I think you'd really like this Pokemon Black 2 series over here. Anyways, guys, it means the world to me that you watched this video. I really hope you enjoyed. And again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in our next Pokemon Challenge video.